Is the volume up here and all that?
Good morning. I mean, what is it? It's not morning time.
It's afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Shannon Brun, and
I'm Doug Werth.
welcome to our midweek faith lift here at Tennessee River Park, Pavilion number 1.
Yep.
Yeah, we're here again. This is like our fourth episode, I think.
Yeah, number 4.
Yeah, number 4, our fourth episode here in Tennessee River Park. And again, I'm here with Reverend Doug Werth. And what are we doing today, Doug?
Well, actually, it's up for grabs to a certain degree. But one thing caught my attention this morning. Mm-hmm. As most of you know, we talk about the daily word as a daily spiritual practice, and the word for today is pray for others, and the affirmation is I hold a vision of good as I pray for others. Mm-hmm. I thought I'd read it. It's only natural to sympathize with those who open up to me and share heartfelt concerns. As I listen deeply, I may sense worry and grief, yet I put my response to those feelings aside as I begin to pray. In stillness, I touch the presence and light of indwelling spirit. In this space, I know the truth of those I am holding in prayer. I claim wholeness, prosperity, and peace as all thoughts of lack and inharmony fade from my mind. Beholding these truths allows me to hold a faith-filled vision of peace and plenty, that their highest good is manifesting before any tangible evidence exists. I'm grateful for the power of prayer as I release all results in faith. And the scriptural reading is from James chapter 5, verse 16. Pray for one another so that you may be healed. The prayer of the righteous is powerful and effective. You know, as I was reading this, the way that it's structured, that sometimes when we're talking with friends or someone is sharing something, we can feel their concerns,
Right.
you know? Mm-hmm. And then if we hold them in prayer or they ask for prayer, mm-hmm. then what we do is we go to the highest and the best for them, mm-hmm. you know, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what silent unity does. Mm-hmm. However, the scriptural verse had me a little puzzled. It says, pray for one another so that you may be healed. Mm-hmm. And at first I said, pray for somebody else and that you're healed. It seemed a little, something was wrong there.
Right.
So what I did is I looked it up. Mm-hmm. And James is one of my favorite books for a number of reasons. But anyways, starting with with verse 13 from chapter 5, mm-hmm. what he's talking about is praying for others. Mm-hmm. You know, if they're sick, if they're suffering, this, that, or the other thing. And we'll just pick it up one verse ahead of the one that was mentioned here. Mm-hmm. The prayer of faith will save the sick, and the Lord will raise them up. Mm-hmm. And anyone who has committed sins will be forgiven. Right. Therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another so that you may be healed. The prayer of the righteous is powerful and effective. Mm-hmm. When it says pray for one another so that you may be healed, I think that's you is the plural. Mm. They're talking about everybody. Okay, mm-hmm. That sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But as I read that, there is something that people ought to know. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've often said is that when you pray for others, mm-hmm. you get a commission. Mm. Now, what that means simply is that as you're praying for someone else, mm-hmm. that energy is going through you. Mm. Okay. So whatever you're affirming for the other person is going to be part of the energy that you have. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an example mm-hmm. of how that works. Before I went to ministerial school, I was seeing a doctor for a certain ailment. Mm-hmm. And guys, as you get older, there's a PSA test. Right. It's for the prostate.
Of course,
okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you look at the number there, and basically it's the number is an indicator mm-hmm. whether there's any cancer in the prostate. Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. And if the number all of a sudden starts getting higher, you got something to worry about.
Yeah, you got to be concerned about it.
So for a long time, my number was just rock solid, steady, and then several years before going to ministerial school, it started climbing. It started going up a few ticks, up a few ticks, up a few ticks. And, by the time I entered ministerial school, I was getting a little nervous about that. The doctor said, well, given your age and everything, you're fine, but we need to keep an eye on it. And so, in other words, the caution light is going on. Well, one of the things that I did when I was in ministerial schools, I worked in silent unity.
Oh, okay.
For the entire 2 years.
I know what you're about to tell me. You started praying for all the people that called.
Well, I did.
Right.
All right. And the other thing is that the number one prayer in silent unity is for healing.
Wow.
People call up not only for their own healing, and difficulties, and most of it's physical. Very, very little is mental, but most of it's physical. And there's a lot of prayers for their loved ones, especially children and spouses and things like that. Number one. So most of the time, now I was there 3 days a week, 8 hours a shift, typically about 60 to 70 prayers during that time.
Wow,
for
that's
people.
a lot of prayers.
So it's a lot of prayers, most of which were for healing.
Right.
Guess what happened to my numbers?
It went down.
They started going down,
Wow.
down. So the point that I want to make with prayer is just simply it's affirmative prayer, okay? And even though situations exist, and we can get into denials and affirmations, which is what prayer is all about, all right, at least from a unity perspective. As you continue to pray and pray in an affirmative direction, that energy is going to go through you, and it's going to have an effect, and it certainly has had an effect with me.
Wow, that's amazing. I hear the advantages. You're telling me about the advantages of prayer and how it not only will it help the person possibly, but it'll also help you.
It'll help you.
Right. But let's talk a little bit about prayer, because I'm new with this unity stuff, and it's like sometimes when people ask me, friends will say, pray for me, and I'm always concerned about what I should say. Like, I'm concerned about whether what's God's will for this person. Like,
exactly.
I want of course, me having a good heart, I want the best for the person.
Right.
But I'm always concerned about whether I should ask that. If I should ask for for what the person wants. What if they don't get what they want? What if what I'm asking God for is not for them? These questions make any sense? Like, I'm always concerned about, should I actually ask God for what this person wants? I mean, is that...
Well, typically what we always want to do is we want to pray in the direction that the person wants to go.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Now, that's kind of tough with your kids, because they might want to go one direction and you want them to go the other way, okay? Or some other direction. But typically in prayer, you want to pray in the direction that the person wants to go.
Okay.
Now, there's a caveat to that.
Okay.
And I'll tell you a story. I was in silent unity, and I got a prayer request, comes over a microphone or a headset. And I got a prayer request. This lady called up, and she was having problems with her sister. And she wanted to call the wrath of God, down on her sister.
Wow.
And was telling me stories about all this. In other words, she was looking for revenge.
Right.
And so when I was talking with her, again over the phone, I said, well, perhaps a better relationship with you and your sister. Right. No, I want the wrath of God. Okay.
Right. I want her dead. No,
yeah, but pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said, well, perhaps we can heal the difficulty between you, or we can help you kind of release and let go of those of the difficulty that you're having. No, I want revenge.
Wow.
And so finally, what I did is I basically said, I'm sorry, but we don't do revenge prayers. And simply because that's the energy that will flow through us, okay?
Wow.
And that's not something
Speaking
that
of what
we
you
want
talked
to
about
do.
before, right?
And so she was adamant that she wanted something like that, and I said, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Now, if you change your mind and you'd like to call us back again, feel free. And then there's a button that we hit that basically has a guy's voice come on and says, thank you very much for calling, the end of it. Well, the funny part about the story is that when you're in silent unity, there may be 20 or 30 people on a shift, and there's a supervisor, and the supervisor has the ability to listen to your prayers, because he doesn't want anybody who perhaps is having trouble, okay, or is doing something they're not supposed to do. So anyway, it's monitored. That call was monitored.
Wow.
So as soon as I got done with it, there was a little beep, beep, beep. Doug, come into my office, and I figured, oh man, I screwed up, And I was thinking that, typically we want to pray in the direction the person wants to go. Come into my office, shut the door, have a seat. And I'm sitting there going, man, I'm going to catch it now. And he looks at me and he goes, great job.
Wow.
Great job.
Wow.
He said, we never, ever go in a negative direction.
Right.
We try to find something positive about it and go in that direction.
And speaking of prayer, I mean, we're doing we have the fifth Sunday of every time we have a fifth Sunday in the month, you come out and you do a prayer service for us.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No, but I'd be happy to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have you scheduled. Anytime there's a fifth Sunday in the month,
okay,
we have you scheduled to do a prayer service, and you've done your first prayer service. You remember your last prayer service, right?
Yeah.
And so, do you
I didn't know
that?
they were prayer services, but I'd be happy to do that.
What are they called? What do we call it?
We just Sunday service. That's all I've got.
We have we have a Sunday service, and we ask people to send their prayer requests.
Okay.
And you answer those prayer requests. You've answered those prayer requests.
Yeah, I did it the last time.
Yeah. So that's just a regular Sunday service.
Okay.
And you actually answer prayers during that time.
I'd be happy to do that.
Well, you've been doing it. You don't remember? You did it.
I did it once.
You actually sent me a prayer.
Yeah.
I didn't get mine in time in the email.
But I did it anyways.
But you sent it to my email.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I didn't get the online prayer, but I got the prayer in my email, and I really appreciate that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, you sent me a personal prayer.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, that I can actually use, and I've been actually using that prayer every day. Every day I've been using that prayer.
Excellent.
And so I just want to put that up because I think that's important for our viewers to know. First of all, we have a service every Sunday. Unity of Chattanooga. You can go to our Facebook page, Unity of Chattanooga. We have a Sunday service every Sunday at 11 o'clock.
Yep.
And we have a guest speaker.
Yep.
And then on
the 29th, it's going to be me here.
Yeah, you're going to be here on the 29th of August. Yeah. And
as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to be doing the whole service, platform assistant and all.
Oh, my God.
So what I'm going to be doing, so my thought at this point is that I'll do a service very similar to what I used to do, at Unity of Chattanooga, and there was always a spot in the service where I would invite prayers in.
Okay.
If somebody had a prayer request, and then I would go out and I'd pray with them, again, short, concise, affirmative.
And I mean, you're really good with prayer on the spot, bro.
Well, let's put it this way.
I mean, you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you just do it on the spot, and it sounds great.
Well,
I'm not, I'm just saying.
Well, the whole idea.
Is there a format to that? Is there like
there is.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Before we do that.
Okay.
Let me just read something.
Okay.
We were. Do you know who James Dillard Freeman is? Prayer for Protection.
Yeah.
Poet. Okay. All right. Here's something that James Dillard Freeman says. Prayer may bring you the fulfillment of your highest hopes and fondest dreams, but whether or not it does, prayer is valuable, not for the things it may bring you, but for the fact that you are praying. Prayer is valuable not because it alters the circumstances and conditions of your life, but because it alters you.
Wow.
To pray is to feel your mind calming, your body relaxing, your spirit lightening, your heart lifting.
Wow.
And so oftentimes with prayer, the tools in prayer are primarily affirmations and denials. And so let's say that you're struggling with some situation. The first thing you want to do with prayer is focus your attention not on the circumstance, but you want to focus your attention on God. Okay? Invite in the highest and best that you know. Become still, and then simply know that you've made that connection. Okay?
That is valuable within itself.
Exactly.
The fact that you're sitting down, taking some time out of your day to connect with something higher than yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you might just say simply something like, "Thank you, God, for being right here and right now with me." And the next thing you think about this condition. It could be a physical thing, it could be a job, it could be something with your spouse, it could be anything. And here's how we use denials and affirmations. You don't want to deny that situation exists, okay? What you want to do is deny that it has any power over you. All right, so the idea is just simply though, so even though that this situation exists, nevertheless, I affirm that God is here, and I see myself whole and healthy, or I see a perfect relationship developing, or let's say you're having a fight with your spouse. You could say, we could see that this situation is resolving itself to the highest good for all people. And then when all of that's over, when you've said that, you just simply say, you release it and let it go, and you say, "Thank you, God, for being right here and right now," and affirm that all is well.
There are people out there that have a problem with that whole denial part.
Well,
I mean, I've read stories about people that kind of have difficulty with repeating denials because they feel like they're giving it life, they're giving it energy. Well, and you're saying...
Well, what we're saying is, if you talk about it at all, okay, just affirm that it doesn't have any power.
Exactly. Okay. Acknowledge that it's there.
Yep.
But also...
But then talk about what you want.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Now, in the Lord's Prayer, for example, Jesus just simply said, "Give us this day our daily bread." He was very clear.
Right.
You know, "Our Father who art in heaven." Number one, focus on God. And then towards the middle of the prayer, he just said, "Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." We talked about forgiveness last week.
Right.
You know, and how important that is.
Right.
Bingo. That's how you do it.
Well, let's put up the prayer request symbol there.
All right.
And not symbol, but the slide, and then we can also put the email address if you're interested in, if you need prayer. Okay. You can simply email contact@unityofchattanooga.org, and we'll get that email, and we'll put that on Doug's list. Okay. On the 29th, and we can actually get a prayer on that day live. Is that live?
Yeah. Now, typically, what I'll do with a group of people here is I'll kind of walk out into the congregation, you know, and say, "Does anyone have any prayer requests?" And in the past, you know, the first time we did it, people were a little reluctant, but then once we did that week after week and year after year, you'd usually get a few hands that would raise, and I would do only 3, you know, because otherwise the service would be way long.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Doug, like I said earlier, you that prayer that you sent me, it wasn't online, it wasn't live, but I did get one in the email, and I've been repeating it every day during my spiritual practice. You talked about having a spiritual practice on a regular basis, reading the daily word, you know, prayer and meditation, and I do that. I say that prayer out loud every day, and I've seen a difference in my life. So thank you for that prayer.
Well, you're very welcome. Yeah. You know, one of the keys, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but you mentioned that you say it out loud.
Yeah.
There is power in the spoken word.
Really?
Yes, very much so. And here's how it works. As you say a prayer, as you do a positive affirmation, there is an energy, there's a vibration that goes through your body. And you probably know by this time, you know, some people can tell a joke and it's absolutely hilarious. Other people can take that same joke and it'll fall flat. Okay, there is an energy here, and when you're speaking that prayer, you can feel whether you believe it or not.
Yeah, you definitely
can feel whether that energy is positive. You can almost feel whether yes, that is going to happen, or whether I'm not quite there yet. Okay, so the more that you can say your prayers out loud, and almost discern where that energy in you really is, the better off you're going to be. Yeah,
you're so right. Some days when I say the prayer, I'm not as convinced.
There you go.
about the fact that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And some days I'm absolutely convinced.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm strong about it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So I just want to make sure everyone have that email address. If you're interested in prayer, you can contact us.
And simply know on the 29th that will be a part of our service.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that it is.
So what else has been going on, Doug? I mean, you know, let's backpedal a little bit. I mean, usually we start out by talking about what's been going on during the week, and we didn't do that.
Right.
We just kind of went right into the work, the spiritual work that we're suggesting people do on a regular basis to stay healthy.
So what else going on?
Yeah, well, what's been going on?
First of all, you know, we've been talking about Jim Rosemurgy's book, The Gathering.
Right.
And Penny, here, this is a book for you. All right.
Okay.
Now Penny bought this out of the. She is the keeper of the church library at this point.
Yeah.
And she said, "I have purchased this book for you, with my deep appreciation for all that you do."
Wow.
So Shannon, there's your book.
Wow. Well, I want to personally. I'm so grateful for this. This is the book you read last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was kind of looking at some stuff, and I actually asked Penny. I said, "Hey Penny, do we have a copy of that book somewhere in our library?" And she said, "Yeah, we do." And I said, "Well, if you find it, let me know how much it costs and I'll pay you." And so she sent it to me. So I'm really grateful for it, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. Yeah. I actually read the stuff that I get.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. Has anything gone on? Have you done? Wait a minute. We were supposed to go kayaking. I wanted to.
Yes. We haven't done that yet.
No, we haven't done it, but we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful. There's a place called Harrison Bay.
Okay.
All right. And it's a beautiful little cove on the Tennessee River above the dam, so we don't have current, to deal with. And Penny and I discovered that years ago, and we'll go there for a little picnic. And I used to. You never met Georgie, did you? Our dog.
No. I've never met you.
Well, she was a golden retriever, and Penny and I and the dog would go, and we just have a great afternoon. Now, a couple of times while we were there, a truck and a trailer would show up loaded with kayaks.
Wow.
And so this guy is right around the corner. He has kayaks. I think I looked it up the other day. I think they're $20 for, I don't know whether it's an hour or just to bring it out. I don't recall that. But anyways, he'll bring the kayaks out, and we can paddle around for an hour and a half, something like that. Cool. So I think the thing to do now is we'll just watch the weather.
Okay.
Or maybe sometime next week. I guess the days that are open for me, not tomorrow, because tomorrow is Penny's birthday.
Penny's birthday's tomorrow, guys.
Yeah,
so if you're watching and you want to say happy birthday to Penny Werth, send it to her on Facebook. I'm sure she would appreciate that.
Oh, she would. Yeah. She absolutely would.
Yeah.
So Friday.
And she's going to be, what, 18, 19? No,
well, we never talk about age with ladies. Okay. I refer to her affectionately as my lovely wife, which will always be the case.
I understand.
Right? So anyways, Friday is available for me. Probably the weekend's not a good time to go because there's motor boats and all kinds of stuff out there. But either Friday or sometime next week, we'll just look at the weather and figure it out.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I really am. And I'm going to take some pictures.
All right.
And I'm going to post those pictures on Facebook. And I'm actually going to post them on our Unity of Chattanooga Facebook page.
Okay.
Just to let everyone see what we
Now, when we're out.
This can actually be considered a spiritual kind of activity, right? Like kayaking, taking walks. Like these things, like getting in touch with. This is a kind of a nature kind of thing, isn't it? Getting in touch with nature, quieting the mind.
Well, let's put it this way: the river, for many years, was my church.
Oh,
okay. The first time that Penny and I were out in California, we were looking around, and there really wasn't a Unity Church in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got into whitewater kayaking,
Mm-hmm.
and on the weekends, especially on Sundays,
Mm-hmm.
some friends of mine, we would go on out,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a skill to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but just cruising down the river, these rivers are remote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the Ocoee is not, but
Mm-hmm.
the rivers that we used to run were fairly remote, and it's just beautiful out
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's quiet. You're in nature. Sometimes you see animals,
Mm-hmm.
on the bank or in there fishing,
Mm-hmm.
for food or whatever it was. And I just absolutely loved it. And for me, it was a kind of a spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, when I was in ministerial school, you have to go to these things called L&Os, License and Ordination Reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me at one point in time, they said, "What do you do for relaxation?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, I like to do whitewater kayaking."
Mm-hmm.
They thought I was crazy.
Wow.
But
Relaxation, kayaking, whitewater kayaking.
well, yeah, they thought it was a death wish and all
Yeah,
that kind
right,
of things.
right.
Extreme sports,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
why are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what I did is I described the peacefulness
Of course,
it.
of course,
Now,
yeah.
yes, you have to know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but once you've got that down,
Mm-hmm.
and you go with some friends and take proper safety
Mm-hmm.
precautions, it's just a beautiful experience.
So a personal spiritual practice can be anything that helps you personally connect with something good. Is that safe to say, or?
Yeah.
Because I love roller skating. I love
Okay.
going to a roller skating rink, and I get on those roller skates and I roller skate and I feel like I am connected
Well,
to God. I feel free.
There's a lot of athletics, especially runners.
Mm-hmm.
They call it the zone.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden you're in a place where
Nothing matters.
the cares of the world are gone.
Yes. And I'm very conscious about how I sometimes I'm conscious about how I sound and how I look.
Right.
When I get on those roller skates, I don't care
Yeah.
how I'm just like
Yeah.
I
Cool.
don't care, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's
I got it.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
just let go, and I think that's the connection. Yeah, so
Well, I've never done roller skating, but there's two sports that I have done after college.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
High school and college, it's competitive, it's football and all that, basketball, wrestling, those sorts of things. But alpine skiing, in other words, snow skiing, not water skiing, but alpine skiing and whitewater kayaking, for me were tremendous releases. And just like you kind of get in the zone and you're out in nature, and it's just it's beautiful.
yeah,
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just want to remind everybody that we're going to be here again next week.
Okay.
We're here every Wednesday at around, we're not going to say 4 o'clock, we'll just say around 4. 'Cause
Okay.
sometimes we'll get here a little early and we'll start early, and sometimes we'll get here a little late and we'll start late. But we'll definitely be here around 4. I don't think we'll be any later than 4:30, and we won't be any earlier than 3:30. But somewhere, but we're here every Wednesday, and we invite you to join us.
4-ish.
4-ish, yeah, 4-ish. And we invite you guys to come out and join us.
Okay.
And also, just to remind you, we have a church service that we host on our Unity of Chattanooga Facebook page every Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. And we have a guest speaker every Sunday. And
Yeah.
that's been,
And they're great speakers.
let's talk about that just a little bit before we close. We have some great speakers.
Well, I
these
tell
are
you,
dynamic people.
This coming Sunday is Howard Caesar.
Howard Caesar.
And Howard Caesar.
Do we have a picture? Go ahead, talk. I'm going to see if I can find something.
Howard Caesar was an icon of the Unity movement. He had the largest church, Unity Church in the country, in Houston, Texas. And the interesting thing about Howard Caesar is do you know who Joel Osteen is?
Joel Osteen. I know Joel Osteen, yeah.
One of the largest ministries in the country.
Yeah.
Well, Howard Caesar was good friends with Joel's dad.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the rumor had it that if you heard Howard Caesar's and then you heard Joel Osteen's dad about 3 weeks later, pretty darn close.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And these days, Joel Osteen's message is as unity as anything
Yeah,
I've heard.
I think. Listen, I'm not being critical of anyone, but it just seems to me as if a lot of the religious, old school religious organizations are becoming more New Thought.
Yes.
It just seems like their message is just kind of changing to a more approachable practice.
As a matter of fact, I talked in another service last Sunday, and that was the exact thing I talked about.
Yeah.
Is how that is changing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I
and I'm kind of like, oh, now you want to get with the program. I've been looking for this all my life, and now all of a sudden it's all around. It's not only at Unity, but a lot of other places are starting to preach this stuff.
They're starting to pick it up, and I have to give a lot of credit to people like Oprah Winfrey, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, those people, because what they did is they took a positive, affirmative message, combined it with physics, psychology, medical science, and they divorced it from old-time religion, and they put a positive spin on it, and they said, hey, if you want to be healthy, if you want to lead a positive life, think about these things, do these things, okay? And, again, I think the old-time religion, I think, is kind of going by the wayside.
It's interesting. When I look back at some of the old episodes of Oprah, sometimes I'll go back and look at like a 1987 or 88 episode of something of hers. Yeah. And we'll look at some of the topics that they were talking about back then, and people were struggling with stuff that, like, today is like so simple. Yeah, exactly. We can just kind of move on with. Well, Oprah. She was way ahead of her time. I mean,
not only that, but she brought in Unity books. Eric Butterworth, Discover the Power Within You. She talked about it. She hawked that book. Yeah. She brought.
But people were like, "What is she talking about?" In the 80s and 90s, they was like, "What is she?" And now today, it's like it's almost.
You almost see it in the commercials.
You see it in the commercials. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, Howard Caesar next week.
Yeah.
Not next week. This Sunday at 11 a.m. Come out and join us.
Great speaker.
Yeah.
Great speaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect message.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about it for today.
I want to thank you for coming out again.
Oh.
I apologize for being a little late.
That's all right.
Yeah. So.
We'll forgive you.
Well, we want to thank our viewers for showing up and supporting us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Take care.
Bye.